Rabotai, before we start, as you know, tonight is Tu B'Av, we don't say Tahanun. I would like to go very briefly about it, not to give a show, but we have to speak about it. So when we not saying Tahanun tomorrow, but we didn't say in Minha also, we need to understand what is it. What's happening? What is Tu B'Av? So I'm going to take maybe 10, 15 minutes, not more than that, to introduce Tu B'Av and leave with you a few ideas, and we'll go from there. Hazal in the Gemara in Masechet Ta'anit in page 30, folio 2, and 30, folio 1, with that the Gemara of Ta'anit end. There it says, אמר רבן שמעון בן גמליאל, לא היו ימים טובים לישראל כט"ו באב ויום הכיפורים. Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel said, לא היו ימים טובים, wasn't a good day to the Jewish people like ט"ו באב, the 15th of Av, and Yom HaKippurim. What's the connection between them? We'll explain in the end. By the way, that the Hazal mentioned it also in the Gemara in Masechet Baba Batra, 129, folio 1, in the end of the Mishnah of Masechet Ta'anit, in chapter 4, verse 8. There Hazal explained what's happened in Tu B'Av, in the 15th of Av. So the first thing that happened that Hazal tell us in a Gemara, in a Mishnah, Hazal explained Yom Shepasku Bo Lichrot Atzei HaMa'aracha. In the time that Beit HaMikdash was exist, you know that in Israel now it's summer, and they used to chop trees for the Beit HaMikdash. And what used to happen? Those trees, they used to cut them so they can use to sacrifice on top of the altar. That means to use wood to burn on top of the altar. But in Tu B'Av, because now the night getting longer in Eretz Israel and the day getting shorter, the wood wouldn't dry so quickly, and was frightened that because of that, it's going to be very difficult to find wood, that there is no clean of insect and worm that growing inside the wood. Therefore, that was a day that they stopped cutting chopping the wood to prepare it for the Mikdash, and they all returned to study Torah. That was the day of happiness. Another thing that happened, Yom Shehutru Bo Hashvatim, that means that it's the day that the tribe now can get married one with other tribe. That means the tribe of Reuven, if a man find a woman that he liked from the tribe of Shimon, he can marry with her. That wasn't allowed until Tu B'Av. The Mefarshim ask, when is it really happened? The Mefarshim bring two different opinions. It happened during the time of the daughter of Tzlofhad, when the daughter of Tzlofhad, they was from the tribe of Binyamin, and then they married with other tribes. Some people say no, it was straight after the Jewish people managed to get all the inheritance in the land. All the tribe got each one got the inheritance of the land. That prohibition then removed, and they can mix married amongst the tribe. When I say mixed married, obviously the mixed marriage is Jewish people, but different tribe. Okay, Yom Sheutar Bo, the third thing that happened, Yom Sheutar Bo Shevet Binyamin Lavo Bakahar. What's happened? We told the story of the concubine, that it was a small group of boys, not boys, white adult, that they raped the concubine, and the Sanhedrin heard about it, and they asked the tribe of Binyamin to bring those boys to them, to surrender those boys to them. But instead, they say no, and that caused civil war amongst the Jewish people, that 120,000 people died amongst the Jewish people. And when the Sanhedrin saw that the tribe of Binyamin getting smaller and smaller and soon going to be annihilated, they decide that the member of the tribe of Binyamin actually can marry with other tribes, and that was also a great Yom Tov. And the fourth thing that happened, Yom Shekalu Bo Mite Midbar. a day that the people that was walking in a wilderness stopped dying. In the year 2449 from the creation, in Tisha B'Av, if you remember, the spy returned after they was in Eretz Israel, and they spoke Lashon Hara about Eretz Israel. The children of Israel that was in that time cried and couldn't understand why. Why Akadosh Baruch Hu want to take us? And Akadosh Baruch Hu said to him, I've given you a land of honey and milk and honey. What are you crying? I'm going to give you a reason to cry. And those 40 years that was in the wilderness, every Tisha B'Av, they used to dig a grave and they used to sleep in a grave. Those that die, they cover them. Those that stay alive, obviously continue with their life. In the year 2487, 39 years later, okay, what happened? To be accurate, 40 years. It was actually 39 years and a half, not exactly full time. What happened in that time, 40 years later? The people gone to sleep on Tisha B'Av, and all of them wake up. And that was until Tu B'Av, until they saw that the moon is completely round, and they realized that the decree that was on the Jewish people to die in a wilderness ended up, and that was a Yom Tov. The last thing that happened, not the last thing, there's another two, that Chazal bring us Yom Shebitel Bo HaMelech Hoshaya Ben Elah, that was a king in Shomron, et Aprosdaot. What does it mean? It was a king, Hoshea Ben Elah, that he took over Yerovam Ben Nevat. Yerovam Ben Nevat was a king of Israel, Lo Melech Yehuda, not the king of Judah, the king of Israel. He had 10 tribes with him. And he actually didn't allow the Jewish people during the Yom Tov, during the festival, to go to Yerushalayim 3 times a year, and that on Pesach, Shavuot, and Sukkot, to bring the sacrifices, because he was idol worshiper. So what is he done, Yerovam Ben Nevat? He closed all the road that leading to Jerusalem, but not only that he closed it, he put security guard that wouldn't allow people to go. When Hoshea Ben Elah took over, okay, that was in Samaria, that area, he actually opened all of that and he canceled the security guard, and they can go and start sacrificing to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That was obviously a great day of joy and like Yom Tov. The final thing, Yom Shenitnu Bo Mete Midbar Lekvura. Chazal in the Gemara in Masechet Gittin in page 57, folio 1, explain what happened there. That the Roman Caesar, Andrianos Caesar, and Chazal say, Ishahku Atzmotav. That means that his bones get crushed, okay? Because he's so wicked. He killed over 200 men and women, children, in a city of Bater. They call it Bater, not Beitar. Some people call it Beitar, but it's the right thing. I saw that brought by Arab Ben Shion Muchafi. He said, call it Bater. It's not Beitar that we know. And he took the body, listen to that, and for 7 years, he never given him to burial. He used them to make a fence over his vineyard. After he died, that decree gone, and the children of Israel took those deceased and they buried them in Tu B'Av. And Chazal in the Gemara in Masechet Brachot, Memchet Amud Aleph 48, folio 1, say that then they constitute for us 2 brachot to add up in Birkat Hamazon, Atov ve'Ametiv. What does it mean, Atov ve'Ametiv? To add up 1 more bracha, Atov ve'Ametiv. But good that, number 1, they've been given to be burial after 7 years, those bodies. Hametiv, that it was good, but even better that the body never decayed for 7 years. So for that, Rabotai, we don't say Tahanun tomorrow because it's a day of joy and happiness. But we still have to understand the connection between Yom Kippur, like Hazal said, in a Gemara and a Mishnah, what is the connection between Yom Kippur to Be'ab? So the Mefarshim explained that there is connection. We know that the children of Israel actually got atonement for the golden calf when? On Yom Kippur. After 40 days and 40 nights that Moshe Rabbeinu was in heaven, that he came down, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu said to him, Salahti kidvarecha. He came down, and he said that HaKadosh Baruch Hu forgive you. Also in Tisha B'Av, we see that it was a day that atonement for the son of the Meraglim. But Rabotai, we say that we brought a Gemara in Masechet Gittin, and Hazal explained Gemara Masechet Gittin also, that one of the things that caused for the destruction of Yerushalayim, destruction of Bet HaMikdash, was baseless hatred. And we know that Tu B'Av, Rabotai, listen to that carefully, Tu B'Av, they call it a Valentine Day, but it's not a Valentine Day. It's a day of Shidduchim. What it means, Shidduchim? Day of matching, mixed matching. Okay? What happened there? It was a day of atonement for the sin of baseless hatred. How? That the rich girls in a Jewish nation and the poor girl in a Jewish nation all wear white dress. That means that the rich girl agree that they're not going to wear their fancy dress, their fancy jewelry, and etc. They're all going to look the same. By that on Tu B'Av, although that they're all looking for shidduchim, looking for a husband, they all dress the same. And person couldn't say this one is rich, this one is poor, because they all dress the same. They couldn't wear a fancy dress. They couldn't wear a fancy clothes, you know, a tag name clothes. Say Hazal, here you learn that it was a baseless love. Okay, instead of baseless anger or hatred that was among the Jewish people that caused the destruction, in Tu B'Av they done atonement to it. Okay, Ahavat Hinam, baseless love. That means to teach us that the connection between Yom Kippur and Tu B'Av, what it was, that the atonement on Had HaMeraglim, the hate of the baseless hatred. With that, I would like to end up. There's more to speak, but we are in the middle of Shmuel Aleph, and I would like to summarize quickly what we learned in a previous chapter. In a previous chapter, chapter 7, we explained that the Holy Ark returned back to the Jewish people. It's arrived by miracle at Bet Shemesh. And we explained that the children of Bet Shemesh, the member of Bet Shemesh that didn't treat it well, been punished, and 70 people died from Bet Shemesh. Okay? When the member of Bet Shemesh saw that, they decided to take the Holy Ark to a place that's called Kiryat Yarim. We explained that Kiryat Yarim is an entrance to Jerusalem, just after Moshav Shoresh. On the right-hand side, it's called Kiryat Yarim, but it's called Tailstone. Maybe some of you know it. And the people of Kiryat Yarim received the Holy Ark with a great honor, and they make sure that they're going to look after it with the right respect and with the holiness that he's supposed to look after it, and he was there for 20 years. Also, we explained that the Jewish people start to see miracle from that moment. A lot of prosperity in Kiryat Yarim, but the Jewish people now start to see miracle, and the prophet actually tell the Jewish people to change their way of living, not to worship idols, and to start following the way of Hashem. The children of Israel listen to the prophet Samuel, and they start doing atonement. And the prophet actually rebuked them, and they all was crying, and they done tshuva, 100% tshuva. The prophets davened to HaKadosh Baruch Hu to accept the tshuva, and the entire Israel become closer to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And from that time, the prophet Samuel started judging the Jewish people. He was the judge. Besides being a prophet, he was also a judge. In Yom Kippur, the Plishtim decide to attack the Jewish people. And when the Jewish people heard about it, they approached the prophet Shmuel. The prophet Shmuel stood and davened to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and he told the Jewish people not to worry, they'll see miracle. How did he realize that? When he sacrificed the korban, when he brought the korban to the altar, he saw that fire from heaven came down and eaten the entire korban, and that was for him a sign that nothing going to happen to the Jewish people. Actually, they're going to see a great miracle. When the Plishtim came, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, we explained, brought thundering and lightning, and the entire Plishtim that came to war suddenly got the frightened of their life, and they start running for their life. The Jewish people chased them, and beside that killing and taking a revenge on them, they also occupied back the territory that the Plishtim took from them. That was from Ekron until Kiryat Gat, we explained. The prophet Shmuel, towards the end of the chapter 7, explained to us that he was going from city to city to make sure that the Jewish people keeping the mitzvot, learning Torah, judging the Jewish people, make sure that everything going according to Torah, according to the Torah. Also, we explained that the Jewish people actually saw from that, it was actually a message to the Jewish people for the great miracle that happened to the Jewish people, to see what's happening when they follow Torah and mitzvot. But that it's end up chapter 7. Now we're going to start chapter 8. Jeffrey, don't forget to unmute yourself, and we'll see what's happening in chapter 8. In chapter 8, verse 1, the prophet tells us like this: ויהי כאשר זקן שמואל וישם את בניו שופטים לישראל. בכבוד, ג'פרי. Jeffrey, you're muted. Don't forget to unmute.
Sorry. So the men of Kiryat Yearim came and brought up the ark of Hashem.
No. Sorry. No. Chapter 8, verse 1.
Sorry, I'm doing 7. Sorry, Rav.
No, it's okay.
Yeah, okay.
Chapter 8, verse 1.
Yes. When Samuel became old, he appointed his sons judges over Israel.
On a pshat of the dvarim, here we see a different era. Prophet Samuel got old, and he couldn't anymore go from city to city, from place to place. He couldn't judge the Jewish people. He summons both of his sons, two of his sons, to judge the Jewish people. In verse 2, we'll see something very interesting that happened. Look what it says in verse 2. ויהי שם בנו הבכור יואל, ושם משנהו אביה, שופטים בבאר שבע.
The name of his firstborn son was Joel, and the name of his second was Abiah. They were judges in Be'er Sheva.
Okay, here we see that the prophet tells us the name of the son of the prophet Samuel, that the older one was Yoel, and while the younger one was Aviah. But the prophet tells us something very interesting, that they lived in Be'er Sheva. Why Dafka Be'er Sheva? What is the Hidush here? What is the prophet trying to tell us here? So the Mefarshim explain that Yoel and Abiah decide to go and live right on the other side of Jerusalem, where right down in the south in Be'er Sheva. And it was very difficult what made it very difficult for many people in amongst the children of Israel to go to Beersheba. It was easier for them to come to the center of Israel, that Jerusalem, than to go right down to the south. Okay? Why? Because if they need, or if they have any dispute, or they needed any opinion of Psak Halacha, they have to go where? Right down to the south. And that was very far. And the prophet tell us exactly the place that they live. Where did they live? In Beersheba. They make the headquarters, the head of the Beit Din in Beersheba. Why? We'll see just now why. ולא הלכו בניו בדרכיו, ויתו אחרי הבצע, ויקחו שוחד, ויתו משפט.
But his sons did not follow his ways. They were swayed by profit. They took bribes and they perverted justice.
Oh, very harsh words in this verse, but we have to understand what's happening. Here the prophet tells us that both of the sons didn't follow the father's way. Is that to remind us what's happened with Ali also? Somewhere along the line, the two children of Ali Kohen, Hofni and Pinhas, never followed what their father used to do. While here we see that Yoel and Abiyah also didn't follow their father. But we have to understand what does it mean, lo alchu bidrachav. They didn't follow his way. The Rashi HaKadosh, Rabbi Shlomo Yitzhaki, that born in the city of Troa 984 years ago, he said, look at the words that the prophet used. Velo alchu bidrachav. They didn't follow his way. What does it mean, say? Rashi said like this. Rashi said that their father used to go from city to city, from place to place, from neighbor to neighbor, to judge, to teach the mitzvah. Everything he used to make sure that he used to go freely. While his son decided to stay in Beersheba. And people now have to come to them. That means if people needed Psak Halacha, they need to journey right down to the south. People needed opinion. They have to go all the way right to the south. Say Rashi HaKadosh, that's what it means they didn't follow his way. But wait a minute, it says that they took bribe. The prophet said that they took bribe. What is the Hidush here? What is they say Shohad? I saw a beautiful commentary that brought by the Metzudot David. Metzudot David is a commentary that's been written by Rabbi David Altshuler, if you remember. And he born in a city of, Yom Drov in Galicia 377 years ago. And he wrote the Metzudot David and Metzudot Zion. It's two different commentaries on a Tanakh. And there he explained what it means to bribery. And not only that, vayatu mishpat, and they change. They make their judgment according to their one. Say no, not has v'shalom that they done it. You have to understand. They took bribery while their father used to do everything for free. Used to go from city to city. Used to judge people for free. Used to give advice for free. Used to give psak halachot for free. Say that here, now the son wanted money. Why? Because to pay, number one, for them sitting to judge. Number two, those that help him. Those that scribe, though in their time, they didn't have computers. Someone had to have a sofer. Sofer is those that write the judgment. That means the writers. Not only that, they have to give money to who? To the officers, to the workers that used to work with them. The officers that make sure that if there is a judgment, people will pay the penalty. He said that's what it means, shohad. It's what it means, vayatu mishpat. that instead of coming to Jerusalem, they point the place where? Right down in the south, in Beersheba. So now we can understand what does it mean, lo alchu bidrachav, that they didn't follow what HaKadosh Baruch Hu, what their father used to do. Like HaKadosh Baruch Hu used to tell the prophet Samuel, listen, you are now working where? In Jerusalem, but you have to go from city to city. Instead of following their father's way, they decide no. They're going to sit in Beersheba and people will come to them. Let's go to verse 4 until 6. And 4 until 6, actually, we'll see what's happening. And here we see the change of era and a time of the prophet Shmuel. Look what's happening. ויתקבצו כל זקני ישראל ויבואו אל שמואל הרמתה ויאמרו אליו הנה אתה זקנת ובניך לא הלכו בדרכיך אתה שימה לנו מלך לשופטנו ככל הגויים ויירא הדבר בעיני שמואל כאשר אמרו תנה לנו מלך לשופטנו ויתפלל שמואל אל אדוני.
Right. All the elders of Israel then gathered together and they came to Samuel, to Ramah. They said to him, behold, you are old and your sons did not follow your ways. So now appoint for us a king to judge us, like all the nations.
Continue, 6.
Sorry. Hashem said to, and Samuel prayed to Hashem.
Okay. In this verse, we see two important keys. The one, that they're asking for king. But they didn't just ask a king. He said that we want a king to judge us. What does it mean to judge us? Like all the other nations. When the prophet Samuel heard that, he got upset. He took it personally. And we have to explain what happened. The elderly of the Jewish people came to Ramata. Ramata, we explain, is in a suburb of Ramot in the north of Jerusalem. And they came to him and they complained to him, you're getting old, your children not following your way. We want you to appoint for us a king like all the other nations. All the other nations have a king, that the king fights for them, the king doing the judgment. We also want a king. When Shmuel and Rabbi heard that, he got upset. Why? Why do you want a king? We know something very interesting. Very, very interesting. You want a king like all the other nations. Said the Metzudot David, they wanted now to be judged like any other nation. They didn't want to be judged according to the Torah halachot. When Shmuel heard that, he got upset. He took it personally, said the prophet. He said himself, I took it personally. He took it personally. Why? Because he was thinking that they actually don't like anymore the way that they judge his son. That means they don't want him to judge them anymore. So he said to them, before I'm going to do anything, I need to daven to HaKadosh Baruch Hu to ask if I'm allowed to appoint a king on you. That means we have to understand what's happening in those verses. That the children of Israel decide that they want a king, number one. Nothing wrong with having a king. Because one of the mitzvot that the Torah tells us that when you enter the land of Eretz Israel, that Yeshua have to do is to conquer the land of Eretz Israel, to destroy the descendants of Amalek, and to appoint a king. So what's wrong? Say the Metzudot David and say the Mefarshim. They wanted the king to judge them like any other nation. They didn't just want a king to judge them according to Torah law, like a bedin, because a king not allowed to judge. Who's supposed to judge? The Dayanim. You wanted the king to judge you. And here was the problem. That was the major key when Shmuel heard that. And what did he say to him? I'm going to daven to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and we'll see what will be the answer. That's how we answer the elderly. In verse 7 and 8, let's see how HaKadosh Baruch Hu answered. ויאמר אדוני אל שמואל, שמע בכל העם, לכל אשר יאמרו אליך, כי לא אותך מעשו, כי אותי מעשו ממלוך עליהם. ככל המעשים אשר עשו מיום העלותי אותם מארץ מצרים, ועד היום הזה, ויעזבוני, ויעבדו אלוהים אחרים, כי הם מעושים גם לך.
Hashem said to Samuel, listen to the voice of the people in all that they say to you. For it is not you whom they have rejected, but it's me whom they have rejected from reigning over them. Like all their deeds that they have done from the day I brought them up from Egypt until this day, they forsook me and worshipped the gods of others.
And here, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, first of all, comforts the prophet Samuel. And he said to him, you have to understand that they're not rejecting you. They're, a matter of fact, rejecting me. By that they don't want the Torah and the mitzvot anymore. And please God, in the next chapter, we'll explain what was hiding behind it that they didn't want Torah and mitzvot. They see miracle. They saw the wind of Plishtim. Why they didn't want it? We'll see, please God, in the next chapter, next week. But we have to explain that here the Jewish people, HaKadosh Baruch Hu said to the prophet Samuel, they're rejecting me, not rejecting you. To comfort the prophet Samuel. Why? Because he took it personally. He took it personally like they're rejecting him. HaKadosh Baruch Hu said to him, they don't reject you. And it's not the first time that they behave like that. From the day that I took him out of Egypt, they have this problem. That whenever it's good for them, whenever they see miracle, it's too much for them. And when it's good, they start to behave and worship the God of others. So it's not the first time. Don't take it personally. In these two verses, we see that HaKadosh Baruch Hu actually tried to comfort Prophet Samuel. Why? Because the prophet given his heart, his life to the nation of the Jewish people. He actually changed. He brought them and they done tshuva, they done atonement, and they saw the miracle. And the next thing, out of the blue, they coming with a different thing. And they saying that they want a king, and the king gonna rule over them and judge them the same like any other nation. Say HaKadosh Baruch Hu, they're not rejecting you, they're rejecting me. Don't take it personally. And it's not the first time that they've done it. So we see HaKadosh Baruch Hu tried to actually comfort the prophet Samuel. By that he said to him, it's not the first time. It's from the day that I took him out of Egypt. They saw the miracle. And then they have, The Erev Rav enticed the Jewish people, and they have the golden crown. Okay, in verse 9 and 10, we see something also very interesting. Now, HaKadosh Baruch Hu given an answer to Prophet Samuel what to tell the children of Israel. ואתה, שמע בקולם, אך כי העד תעיד בהם, והגדת להם משפט המלך אשר ימלוך עליהם. ויאמר שמואל את דברי אדוני אל העם, השואלים מאיתו מלך.
Right. Sorry. And now, heed their voice, and be sure to warn them and tell them about the protocol of the king who will reign over them. Samuel told all the words of Hashem to the people who had requested a king of him.
Okay, in these two verses, we see that the prophet tell us that HaKadosh Baruch Hu told them to listen to the nation. They want a king? Let them have a king, no problem. But tell them their rights. What it mean their rights? The protocol of the king. What it mean the protocol of the king? We'll see in verses 11 to 18, what does it mean? That means that here the prophet telling the children of Israel that to have a king, it's here, you have to pay for it. That means it's going to cost you. It doesn't come just to have a king, not physically. There's certain rules, there's certain protocol that you have to follow. And you have no say on a matter. And verse 11 to verse 18, the prophet Samuel actually tells the children of Israel the protocol of the king, and he brings 11 different ideas. Okay, I don't know if we should go through them because it's going to take. Let's read them quickly, if you don't mind, Jeffrey.
Sure.
Because I think that the listeners should listen to it. ויאמר זה יהיה משפט המלך, אשר ימלוך עליכם, את בניכם ייקח לו, וישם לו במרכבתו ובפרשיו, ורצו לפני מרכבתו, ולשום לו שרי אלפים, שרי 50, ולחרוש חרישו, ולקצור קצירו, ולעשות כלי מלחמתו, וכלי רכבו, ואת בנותיכם ייקח, לרוקחות, ולטבחות, ולעופות, ואת שדיכם, ואת כרמכם, זיתיכם הטובים, ייקח ונתן לעבדיו, וזרעכם וכרמכם, יעשר ונתן לסריסיו ולעבדיו, ואת עבדיכם ואת שפחותכם ואת בחורכם הטובים, ואת חמוריכם ייקח ועשה למלאכתו, צונכם יעשר ואתם תהיו לו לעבדים, וזעקתם ביום ההוא, מלפני מלככם אשר בחרתם לכם, ולא יענה אדוני אתכם ביום ההוא. בכבוד.
He said, this is a protocol of the king who will reign over you. He will take away your sons and place them in his chariots and cavalry, and they will run before his chariot. He will appoint for himself captains of thousands and captains of 50 to plow his furrow and to reap his harvest and produce his implements of battle and the furnishings of his chariot. He will take your daughters to be perfumers, cooks, and bakers. He will confiscate your best fields, vineyards, and olive trees, and present them to his servants. He will take 1/10 of your grain and vines, and present them to his officers and servants. He will take your servants and maidservants, and your best young men, and your donkeys, and press them into his service. He will take 1/10 of your sheep, and you will be his slaves. On that day you will cry out because of your king, whom you have chosen for yourself. But Hashem will not answer you on that day. But the people refused to listen to the voice of Samuel. They said, no, there shall be a king over us, and we will be like all the other nations. Our king will judge us and go forth before us and fight our wars. Samuel heard all the words of the people and repeated them to Hashem. Hashem told Samuel, listen to their voice and crown a king for them. Samuel told the men of Israel, go, each man to his city.
Okay. The bar gone a bit forward, but it's easier for me now. Now I can just flow with it. Thank you, Jeffrey. Okay, what's happening, first of all? In verse 11, Kadosh Baruch Hu said to the prophet, tell the children of Israel, those going to be the protocol of the king. And a matter of fact, there is 11 protocols, but the Malbim explained, Rabbi Meir Michael Weiser, we explained that he said that there is 7 protocols. That means that number 1, we heard that he can take your son and they can be the driver to the chariot. Also, they're going to run in the front of the chariot. The king can take people to work in his palace. Okay, not only that, they can work on his field, they can harvest, they can plow, and etc. Not only that, the king can take your daughters to bake, to cook, to do perfume, and etc. The king also can take your own field and he can cross through them without any permission. Not only that, he's going to take the best of your fruit and your vegetable. He can take your best man, your servant maid, your servant, the best boys that you have, the greatest boys. He can take them all and they have to work for him. And no one can say yeah or nay. You don't have a decision on it. Not only that, you have to give 10% from all your profit to the king. That's something new. He can take from your flock. That's all new suddenly. These new taxes that come in. So we see that the prophet tried to tell the protocol in a way that maybe the children of Israel will think twice. Listen, whoa. We never have all of that before. I don't have to pay tax. My kids stay with me. They don't have to be slaves. The people that working for me, they work for me. They don't work for the king. Now they have to work for the king. My field, I don't have to share with anyone. Now I have to share it with the king. The crops that I'm getting, the fruit, the vegetables, I have to share it with the king if you decide. All different new protocol that Kadosh Baruch Hu told the prophet to tell the children of Israel, when you appointed a king on you, those the protocol that the king have the rights to do without asking him. In verse 19, what did we see? The children of Israel, after they hear all of that, what did they say? Adoso, we want to have a king. Okay, they decide, no, we still want a king. That he gonna rule us, he gonna fight for us. Not only that, he gonna judge us. And here we see that they don't listen to what the prophet tried to tell them. That means the prophet Samuel tried to say to them, wait a minute. You people know what you're actually doing? It's you want a king. Nachon, you want a king, beseder. But you want a king to judge us like all the other nations? You want a king to fight for you? You want a king to judge you? It's not a good idea. Look at the protocol. Adore all of that. What the children of Israel say, yes, we want it. They want it. In verse 20, here we see that the nations say, no matter what, we want a king like all the other nations. The Metzudot David explained something very important. He said that the prophet tried to tell them that the king actually gonna exploit you. For everything, it's going to cost you money. It's going to exploit you. If you want to be like all the goyim, you're going to have a major profit, not more than what you have now. Matter of fact, you're going to have less than what you're having now. Okay? Not only that, the king that's going to exploit you, he's going to take tax for everything. You think that's going to be to your own benefit, but I have news for you. It's not going to be for your own benefit. It's going to be to his own personal pocket benefit. That's how the nation doing. You want him to judge you. You want him to fight you. He's not going to fight for you. He's going to use your money to his own pocket. What did the children of Israel say? No? We want a king. Until now, the children of Israel never have a king. They never have to pay tax. Obviously, they have to pay 10% tzedakah for the poor people. But they don't have to pay 10% to a king. So now they have to pay 10% to the poor people, 10% for the king. They didn't have to pay from their crops. They have to give maaser. Maaser, okay. Here they have to give everything to the king. Their kids doesn't have to be part of the army. Now the kids have to be part of the army. Not only that, he can use them as his own servant. And he'll decide who he's going to take, who he's not going to take. The people that's working at your place, your maidservant, the servant, he can take them without asking you. Said the Ralbag, Rabbi Levy ben Gershom, he born in France 739 years ago. Why did the children of Israel want it, all of it? What's the hidush here? You're having miracle. HaKadosh Baruch Hu do everything for you. All he asks you, not to worship idol, follow the Torah and do mitzvah. What is the hidush here? That the children of Israel wanted a king. What's hiding behind it? Say the Ralbag, Rabbi Levy ben Gershom. He said like this. The children of Israel wanted someone that's going to rule over them. Why? That he can save them from the enemies. No chokhmah, no brain. If you look at it, HaKadosh Baruch Hu showed them for 20 years that not one Plishtim came next to them. Not only that the Plishtim didn't attack them, also the Amorite make peace with them. What does it mean, Rabotai? And we stop here for a few seconds, and I'm going to before we continue. Look at Israel. In Israel, they worried that the Hezbollah going to take them from Lebanon, that the Iranian going to take them from Iran. Wait a minute. You went for many years, we're trying to make peace with them. We're given land. We're given part of Israel. We didn't open the war. What are you frightened? HaKadosh Baruch Hu tell you that you have one thing to do. Get rid of those people because they're abomination to you, the Torah tells us. We read it on Shabbos. If you're not going to get rid of them and you live them amongst you, they're going to be abomination. About 1967, after the Israeli Defense Force managed to conquer the eastern part of Jerusalem, what we call it the old city, the Kotel, the Harabait, they was running. Mr. One-Eye Moshe Dayan ran with the key to the Mufti. Here, it's your place. Kadosh Baruch Hu said, you don't want to listen to me again. I told you in my Torah, if you leave them amongst you, they're going to be abomination. 57 years later, we see what they're doing to us. That's what Shlomo HaMelech said. En hadash tahat hashemesh. What does it mean? There's nothing new under the sun. In verse 21, and these, by the way, this chapter was very short chapter. I'm going to do verse 21 and verse 22, and with that, we're going to end up the chapter 28. And it says like this in verse 21. וישמע שמואל את כל דברי העם וידבר באוזני השם. ויאמר אדוני אל שמואל שמע בקולם והמלכת להם מלך. ויאמר שמואל אל אנשי ישראל לכו איש אל עירו.
Samuel heard all the words of the people and repeated them to Hashem. Hashem told Samuel, listen to their voice and crown a king for them. Samuel told the men of Israel, go, each man to his city.
Here, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the prophet Samuel heard what the people say, and he told HaKadosh Baruch Hu what HaKadosh Baruch Hu didn't hear, HaKadosh Baruch Hu hear. But here there is a chidush here, Rabotai, that we have to understand. Shmuel had also tried to stop them by that he said to them, I'm going to tell everything to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Maybe they're going to change their mind. Nah, nothing. They're stubborn. Verse 21, verse 22, HaKadosh Baruch Hu said to the prophet, I see that you're not happy. He said to the prophet Samuel, you're not happy. Why are you not happy? What's the problem? You're not happy with what the nation's saying? Kadosh Baruch Hu said to Shmuel, Adosa, I understand that you're not happy. I understand that you see that there's no common sense. It doesn't make sense. Adosa, listen to them. I want you to appoint a king on them. What does the prophet Samuel do? He said, I will do what you wanted. And he actually get rid of them. He sent them each one to their own city. What's the hidush here, Rabota? What is the hidush that we see from here to teach us a lesson? That sometimes we stuck on something and we focus only on that point. The children of Israel focus on a king. We want king, we want king. They didn't look further than that. Open your eyes, look further than your nose. The prophet got so cross, so upset. HaKadosh Baruch Hu tell him, leave them. They want a king, let's appoint a king to them. And we learn from here that the message is, Rabotai, that the Torah is a manual to us. It's come to teach us how we sometimes get blocked or locked on something without looking. Sometimes we have to say, okay, I want something. Is that what's really good for me? Is that what HaKadosh Baruch Hu wanted to give it to me? And sometimes people are so busy that they don't look. They like robots. They want it, they don't see around. We as Jewish nation have to open our eyes. We as Jewish people, the prophet tried to tell us, listen, you have to stop for a while, think clearly, and then decide. But here the prophet saw that there's no one to talk to. What has he done? He didn't sit and tell them, listen, we're going to do king or no king. What did he say? He chased them away. Each one must go to his own city. All of you will go from where you come. You come from Tel Aviv, you come from the north, you come from the south. Go back. He didn't spoke to them anymore. In chapter 9, Be'ezrat Hashem, next chapter that we're going to learn next Sunday, we're going to learn how the prophet meet the new king. The king that he actually been told, but how the coincidence bring them together, we'll learn about it, and we'll see who's going to be the king that HaKadosh Baruch Hu chose for them. It's not that the nation chose a king. Here HaKadosh Baruch Hu chose for the children of Israel a king. That means we see the mercy and compassion that HaKadosh Baruch Hu have on the children of Israel. He didn't let them choose a king. He chose for them a king. And we'll see who's going to be the king. And we'll see a lot of Hidushim actually in the next chapter, please God, next Sunday. We learn from here, if we summarize what we learned today, Rabotai, that we have to understand that what Shlomo HaMelech said. Shlomo HaMelech tried to teach us there's nothing new under the sun. And sometimes when people get locked up on something, they don't see anything else. You have to let them do what they want. Because as much that you try to stop them, it's going to encourage them to do it more. And that's what the Torah tried to teach us. When you see the thing getting out of hand, okay, and you cannot win them, leave them alone. You don't have to join them, but leave them alone. Because nothing going to teach them a lesson until they learn it on their own skin. A person, when it's good, sometimes forgets what it's, for him it's natural, for other people it's very difficult to get. What other people wish to have, and he get it all the time. That's the Hidush that we can learn from that. That's the Musa that we can take from it. What we have, and we take it as granted, other people wish to have. And I think that's the Musa that we can learn from here. That Bnei Israel took it for granted that for 20 years, prosperity is good, health is good, no enemies, peace with the surrounding nation around. Suddenly they have a problem. What was the problem? That the children of the prophet not going from city to city. They want you to come to them. Okay, is that so difficult? Is that the major problem? Look at the bigger picture. You want your own king. Look at the protocol of the king. No, they're stuck. They want a king. That's the Hidushim. That's what the prophet tried to teach us. That sometimes we have to understand that what we have, we're taking it for granted. What others beg to have, we take it for granted. What others wish to have and have to work very hard to get it, we take it for granted, what we have. And I think that's the message in this chapter 8. Rabotai, I hope that you enjoyed the show.